Ahead on the AM edition of Race Day, last tango at Indy for a host of drivers hoping for a shot at racing's biggest prize. The Busch Grand National Warriors come back from vacation at maybe their toughest track anywhere. And we'll recap last night's Winston Cup All-Star Bash. Would it be a new silver streak or the colors of the rainbow at the Winston Select? All part of Race Day, Sunday, May 21st, 1995. Good morning. Welcome to Race Day. Great to be back with you after taking Mother's Day off. I'm Rick Benjamin. Did you see what happened last night at Charlotte? Great night for the Winston Cup drivers and a very profitable night for the young man many are calling the boy wonder. Full recap of the Winston Select later on. We've got a truckload of videotape to show you, so keep it right here. Huge day of Major League Motorsport ahead this race day, though. Let's get rolling with NASCAR's Busch Grand National Series. The BGN guys have been on vacation for a couple of weeks now, at least from actual competition. No green flags since Hickory a couple of weeks ago. But in less than 2 hours, they're back at work live here on TNN. Let's head up to Nazareth, Pennsylvania for a live preview. TNN's Ralph Shaheen is in Nazareth for us right now to tell us a little more about what we're going to see. Ralph, the racetrack, really a very distinct mile oval up there. 5 unusual turns at Nazareth.
Rick, you know, this racetrack here at Nazareth is one of the most unique, as you said, on the Busch Grand National Tour, but we have an absolutely beautiful day here. I guess it's about 11:34 in the morning here in Nazareth. Everything is ready to go. The crowd is walking through the pit area here. They're doing all their pit tours, getting all set, ready to go, finding their seats in the grandstand. We have a gorgeous day for racing here in Nazareth. And qualifying took place the other day. Points leader Johnny Benson Jr. was the guy that really everybody was keeping an eye on because he runs real well on these tracks. But the points leader will start 5th today in his Lipton-backed Chevy after a 28.3-second effort around the big track. Virginian Hermie Sadler ran a 28.22-second lap. The DeWalt driver will roll off 4th here today. Jeff Green was just 1/100th of a second better than Sadler. He starts 3rd in the GM Goodwrench Service Chevy. It will be black here today. Tim Fedowa, boy, what a year he's having here lately. He's navigated the 1 mile oval in 28.1 seconds. He will start 2nd for the 2nd week in a row. And the reigning Busch Grand National champion, David Green, grabbed the top slot with a lap at 28.067 seconds, 128.2 miles per hour. Well, Rick, as you can see, the GM Goodwrench Service Chevy this week, it is black. And he says, does Jeff Green, that there's no pressure on him, even after what took place at Loudon. He feels that that is something he can build on. Now, Hermie Sadler tells me to keep an eye on him because they have gone back to basics with this car, and that is something that he is really ready for. And Tim Fedowa, he says that this car is built for flat tracks, which is exactly what we have here at Nazareth, Rick. So this 55 should be a contender as well.
Tim Fedowa, the best of the Fords there today, right, Ralph?
That's exactly right. And like I said, this car, it's a new chassis for them. It is built specifically for flat-type racetracks, just like they had at Loudon and what they have here. Don't forget, at Loudon, he was 2 laps down, made 1 lap back, and almost made the 2nd one back. Fedowa is pumped for Nazareth.
All right, we'll see how he makes out today. Ralph Shaheen will check back with you in a few moments. Ralph and Ken Squire and P.J. Jones. We'll have all the action for you live here on TNN this afternoon, 1 o'clock Eastern. And then our Speed Stick Fast Track Points Update brought to you by Menon. Let's take a look at the Busch Grand National standings. Johnny Benson still the point leader over Chad Little. Terry Labonte not chasing points in the Busch Series. Still 3rd, though. Jason Keller and Larry Pearson round out the top 5. And my apologies, it was only 1 week ago that the Busch Grand National cars took a green flag, of course, in New Hampshire here on TNN. Well, many of our TNN crew headed out onto the interstate, garment bags in hand. Late last night, after bringing you the Winston Select here on TNN, everyone got a ride up the road, but you might not be able to say the same for some of the drivers who ran in last night's All-Star Show at the Big Speedway just up the road from our location here in Charlotte. As always, some had their fastest race cars crashed out from under them. Guys you might have heard of, name of Earnhardt and Waltrip. Race Day's Matt Yoakum tonight with a look back at the on-track action.
The Winston Select is NASCAR's Night of Champions, a no-holds-barred event where survival of the machinery is second to personal pride. If you can't run with the big dogs, stay on the porch. The big dog in qualifying was Bobby Labonte, but his time at the front lasted less than a lap. In the first 30-lap scramble, Jeff Gordon sent the signal, stay with me or run for second. In the second 30-lap segment, the annual fan-voted inverted start signaled it was time for carnage. 2 laps in, Jimmy Spencer tried to press for the front and pressed too hard. Schrader was incensed after the incident, storming to the NASCAR trailer. Spencer carried on. The silver number 3 of Earnhardt was also involved. He escaped this time, but would not be so lucky later. The second big melee in segment 2 took out Mark Martin, Dale Jarrett, and Select Open winner Todd Bodine. Spencer, meanwhile, survived another near miss. Through it all, Jeff Gordon was stealing the show and the cash, winning the second $50,000 segment bonus as he completed a last-to-first charge, sweeping the first 2 segments. But the Select Grand Finale is always NASCAR's best fireworks show, proving that old age and treachery will always win out over youth and enthusiasm. Darrell Waltrip and Dale Earnhardt seized the early advantage. Earnhardt made it 3 wide down the backstretch as the 2 veterans swept to the front. That meant Gordon had the best seat when the wheels came off in front of him. The Silver 3 breaks loose in turn 4 and carries Waltrip into the wall hard. Both walked away from the wreck while Gordon walked away from the field. Sterling Marlin gave chase to no avail. In the final laps, Gordon had time to fill out his deposit slip for $300,000, coasting to his first Winston Select win.
Hey, I love Bruton Smith, man. I love to take his money, and I think he likes giving it to me, too. But I tell you what, I want to say hi to Pop Hendrick, Rick Hendrick. This is their first Winston ever. My first Winston, so we just did something together, and that's a lot of fun doing it.
Sterling Marlin came home second for the 3rd time with Ricky Rudd, Rusty Wallace, and last year's winner, Jeff Bodine, rounding out the top 5. Reporting for Race Day, I'm Matt Yoakum.
Thanks, man. I think he was happy last night. I think the other drivers were irritated. Gordon's got a rocket ship for next Sunday night's Coke 600. 3rd time in 10 years that a driver has swept all 3 segments of the Winston or the Winston Select. Now, this is why May is a race fan's favorite month. Not only do we get to enjoy one of stock car racing's best events, the Winston Select. Next week, the greatest twin bill in the sport. Sunday night, the Coca-Cola 600 back here in Charlotte. Noon Sunday, the greatest spectacle in racing, the Indy 500. Plenty of drama today at the Big Oval because the last qualifying spots are up for grabs for the 79th 500. Big story at Indy still, the struggles of the Penske team, and more of the same yesterday. Al Unser Jr. and Emerson Fittipaldi trying to find some speed in a pair of Lolas leased from Rahal Hogan. Little Al couldn't get it cranked up. The captain waves him off, not once, but twice. Emo fares no better. His run also ends in a wave off. If they don't figure what's wrong today, it's going to be explain it to Marlboro time for Roger Penske. Only 3 spots left in the show before bumping begins. While the Penske searched for speed, others had plenty. Adrian Fernandez, the quick qualifier yesterday at 2:27.8. Christian Fittipaldi, Emo's nephew, put a second Derek Walker car on the show at more than 226 miles an hour. And a call goes out to Lynn St. James. Her first runs of the week. After an intense sponsor search, she caught everyone's attention, white-walling a couple of tires, but making the show at 225-plus miles an hour. Eric Bachelard, the second fastest qualifier yesterday at 2:26.8. And again, 3 spots to be filled today. All month, we've been following the progress of Davey Hamilton, short track star. He's come back from his crash earlier with a broken wheel, practicing this week, and he'll try to make the show today.
Is bigger than my left, and there is some movement in it, but not much. And but it doesn't hurt. And once I'm in the car, the thing, it's pretty good.
So Davey Hamilton hoping to make the show today. He was telling us about his injured ankle. A wheel broke on his first Lola out of the Hemmelgarn stables more than a week ago. He had to spend some time recuperating, but he's okay now with that special shoe. We'll tell you how he does tonight. 7:30 Eastern on the PM edition of Race Day. We'll show you who gets in and whose bubble bursts for the biggest show of them all. More to come on the morning edition of Race Day. Speaking of Indy, stock car excitement at Raceway Park last night. The ASA stars under the lights. While the SCCA's Trans Am Tour heads north of the border. Their second event of the season. We'll talk to a Ford Top Gun next.
Race Day is brought to you by Mopar, Chrysler Corporation Parts, and the Chrysler Plymouth, Dodge Truck, Jeep, and Eagle dealers who sell and install them. By Jiffy Lube. If it doesn't say Jiffy Lube, it just isn't Jiffy Lube. By Speed Stick by Menon. Like you, it never quits.
Welcome back. If you're a road racing fan, you need your visa this weekend, and we're not talking credit cards. Both major series, SCCA and IMSA, are running north of the border this weekend. This afternoon, the SCCA Trans Am stars, after opening up in a nighttime Phoenix sandstorm a few weeks ago, head to Mosport Park. They'll have a go in Canadian sunshine later on. Joining us from Mosport, the driver of the Roush Racing Mustang, Tom Kendall. Tom, welcome to Race Day. Good to have you with us today.
Thank you.
Good
to be back.
You ran second up there a year ago in a wild finish to Scott Pruitt. What are you looking for in today's race?
Well, last year I miscalculated a little bit. I thought tires were going to be a much bigger factor, and I dropped back as far back to 8th spot, and I was lucky to get back to second with that last lap melee. But this year, with the inverted start, I'm starting 4th, so we're still going to have to get by some people, but we're not going to sit back and wait around for the end.
SCCA changed that rule, letting the top 5 qualifiers invert to try to make a better show. What do you think of it so far?
I've got mixed feelings. I've taken home the most points because of the qualifying. We were leading the points coming away from Phoenix by virtue of that fact, but it's a really difficult proposition to get by one guy and much less 4 if you start on the pole. And so we'll just have to wait and see. If it's better for the fans, then I guess our opinion doesn't really matter.
Well, we hope it works out well for the entire series. Now, a lot of changes in Trans Am this year, but you're with the exact same combination, same car owner, crew, really race car that you had last year. Is that an advantage for you?
Oh, no doubt about it. This is the first time that I've had the same crew, car, sponsor, and series heading from one year to the next. And so that continuity allows you to just focus on what you're doing rather than adjusting to anything new.
Well, we wish you well at Mosport Park and all season long. Tommy Kendall, thanks for being with us today. We'll have all the highlights, of course, from today's event at Mosport coming up a little later on race day tonight at 7:30 Eastern. Now, the continent's other big league road racing series also north of the border this weekend, but they're in the midst of a management shakeup now. IMSA's president Hal Kelly Jr. resigning several days ago over what are called business differences with the owner of the sanctioning body, Charles Slater. Taking over for Kelly is IMSA Vice President George Silberman.
The business of IMSA, it is a business, not a charitable organization, despite some of the rumors, hasn't fared quite so well. And I think that where that came out in different philosophies was that there's many ways to grow business. You can do it quickly and try to make a home run, if you will, or you can do it slowly and accept base hits. And I want to try to do it more of a base hit way so we build a good, solid financial foundation for the future.
With the shakeup in leadership as a backdrop, IMSA's competitors back on track in Canada today. Wayne Taylor and his Ferrari, fast qualifier for today's Moosehead Grand Prix in Nova Scotia. It's an airport circuit. Mauro Baldi will start second. James Weaver will line up third. He was the winner at Road Atlanta. All the highlights for you coming up tonight here at 7:30 on the PM edition of Race Day. Much more to come this morning, though. You saw the Winston Cup battle at Charlotte and the Winston Select here last night. Well, the Grand National Warriors of the 600-pound modified tour team, 600-horsepower modified tour teams, will roar at Nazareth later today. We'll go back there live for a preview next. In just more than an hour, the Busch Grand National runners will fire them up live here on TNN. So far this year, a couple of the young Lions, Chad Little and Johnny Benson Jr., have been really head and shoulders above the crowd, but that might change this afternoon. TNN's Ralph Shaheen in Nazareth for us today.
I can barely hear you, Joel.
Ralph, having some audio problems, some inability to hear us, evidently, but the odd shape of the racetrack there often does produce a wild race. And as we showed you, David Green will have the pole today, the defending series champ. Ralph, looking forward perhaps to a really interesting battle this afternoon.
You know, Rick, I think we're going to see one of the best Busch Grand National races all season long right here at Nazareth, and I think a big part of that is due to the unique configuration of this racetrack like we've been talking about. David Green, of course, the reigning Busch Grand National champion. You have finished in the top 3 every time you've been here. What is it about you and this racetrack that works so well?
Well, I think number one, it's an awful good race team. The Slim Jim team is awesome. Been here with Bobby, and they were awesome. And, man, I slid right in there and worked so far. But, you know, this year Goodyear brought a different race tire here, and we've had to really come off our normal setup. But, hey, we're still on the pole, and, again, the Slim Jim Monte Carlo is good. And I love Nazareth because they're great people that run this organization, and it's a super racetrack.
Give me quickly the one key to winning at Nazareth.
Maneuver all 6 corners perfectly all race long, but it's just be patient. That's the key, patience here at Nazareth.
You know, Rick, when they get done with the Busch Grand National race here, they're going to go into the modified portion of the program. The Winston Modifizer, the Featherlight Modified Tour is here as well. Satch Worley was second at Loudon, and he's second here last year. He loves these big tracks. And Satch will start second here this afternoon after the Busch Grand National race. The pole, it went to Ted Christopher, who finally has found some good luck. He put in a lap at 27.421 seconds, over 131 miles an hour. It's Ted's first race here at Nazareth. And if you're a diehard fan of modifieds, good news, George Kent is finally back on the modified tour. He'll start his season off right here at Nazareth.
Oh, that's great. The Duke of Kent back behind the wheel. That's good news. All right. Thanks, Ralph. Wish Ted Christopher well, a fellow Connecticut native. Of course, Ralph and Kent Squire, P.J. Jones, our live coverage of the Meridian Advantage 200 at 1 o'clock Eastern this afternoon right here on TNN. There's plenty more to come on our racing plate today. Kyle Petty and several dozen of his closest buddies getting a blue light special. We'll explain that when we come back. And on the NHRA trail, turmoil for the Dodge boys. We'll tell you why with Steve Evans live in a moment. We're back on race day. The quickest race cars anywhere are in New Jersey this weekend. The 26th annual Mopar Parts Nationals for the NHRA Stars at Englishtown, New Jersey. Pro Stock Field won't have to worry about the Mopars this weekend. We'll explain that in a moment. Quick qualifier in Pro Stock. Warren Johnson on the right. He's already had a profitable weekend here, winning the Pro Stock Shootout over Larry Morgan. WJ's fast time, a 7:015 at 1:96.46. Qualified number 1 as well. In funny cars, Al Hoffman on the right here, taking the top spot before the finals today. How about this? A 4:975 at 3:06.33. Unbelievably quick and fast for Al Hoffman in the Western Auto Slick 50 car. And in Top Fuel, Larry Dixon Jr. on the near side in Don Prudhomme's Miller Genuine Draft car. He takes the top spot at 4:665, 3:07.69. Let's get the latest live from Englishtown. TNN's Steve Evans is there at the home of horsepower this weekend. Steve, incredibly fast times. What about Al Hoffman? 3:06?
Absolutely unbelievable. In fact, he did it twice to the 100, 3:06.33. But Al, like everybody else today, has backed him way down. It's not 65 degrees. It's close to 80. So we'll be lucky if we get a 4-second run in funny car today, unless it comes maybe in the final round. In Pro Stock, round 1 is yet to be run, but of course everybody is talking about the tragedy that hit the Wayne County Speed Shop in Fairfield, Illinois. We showed some video yesterday on NHRA Today, and whoever broke in there knew exactly what they were doing, where to place their sledgehammers, where to ruin the blocks, the heads, the manifolds. Just an unthinkable act, and it appears that they won't be back for about 2 races.
All right, Steve, we look forward to hearing more about that. Terrible indeed that Scott Jeffrey and Darrell Alderman can't make the show today. Thanks for your report. Steve will be back with live coverage of the final round of the Mopar Parts Nationals right here on TNN, 5 o'clock Eastern today. And a full recap on race day tonight, 7:30 Eastern time. We sometimes forget just how dangerous a sport auto racing is, and there are a few forms of the sport where the margin of safety is so thin, as in the world of world record speed runs. One of the best-known teams in that segment of the sport, the Bean Bandit crew. Now 3 generations of family make up that team. The Arnett's. They rely on family and God for strength, but Race Day's Laura Bird tells us this month their strength was severely tested by tragedy.
The Bean Bandit Car Club was organized in 1951 and quickly dominated the drag racing world. Joaquin Arnett built the cars the club raced, and in 1953 won the first NHRA championship at Pomona. The Bean Bandits disbanded in 1960, and no one thought about racing again until 28 years later.
Well, we had a reunion in '88, and we all seen each other, and we decided to build late model cars. Then we thought, well, we get all the stuff that I had together, and I built these 3 cars with my 2 sons. Really worked hard at it, and they learned a lot by it. So it's been quite a thrill for us, all of us guys, and we have something else to do.
The Bandits immediately made an impact on the racing world again. Starting in 1991, Joaquin's son, Sonny Arnett, set 3 land speed records driving each of the 3 streamliners he and his father built. Tell me what your secret is.
My secret's my dad and the Lord.
What are your long-term goals?
Well, up here at El Mirage, I want to be able to go 300. Bonneville, we want to go, we're after Al Teague's record, which is like 409, and we want to go like 420.
In the first heat of racing, Sonny accomplished his goal, setting a new land speed record for El Mirage. In the second heat of racing, however, tragedy struck. Sonny's car went out of control, and he was killed. There is currently no explanation for the cause of this accident. Racing is a high-risk sport, and no one knows that better than the men who do it. But nothing could prepare myself, my crew, or the Arnett family for what we'd be unfortunate enough to witness that day at El Mirage. This story is being aired at the family's request. We offer them our deep condolences and thank them for allowing us to air this footage in its entirety. For TNN Race Day, this is Laura Bird.
All right, thanks, Laura. Certainly our condolences to the Arnetts as well. More to come. We'll show you Kyle Petty heading out on the highway to raise some money for a great cause, and we'll find out a lot more, too. Stay with us. And we're back on Race Day. You know, many folks in the motorsports community spend a lot of off-track time raising money for folks in need. Kyle Petty, an avid Harley rider, one-upping everyone, though, with his idea to ride across America. Many members of the NASCAR family joining in, like Jeff Bodine, Harry Gant, Butch Mock, to name a few. Climbed aboard their big bikes after Sears Point a couple of weeks ago and headed back east to the Carolinas. From San Francisco, the ride covered 3,100 miles in 8 days. wrapping up last Monday at the Sandwich Construction Company in Charlotte. Even the King made the final 40-mile run down from Statesville. All in all, they raised nearly $320,000 for various charities and provided a once-in-a-lifetime experience for many of these riders. It was all done in Kyle Petty's own inimitable style.
That was pretty cool. Then we did some crazy stuff. Jumping off poles, that was a whole nother story. But then we got escorted into Vegas, man. It looked like the Flying Elvis has come to Vegas. And then we got to Texas, and we got stopped by a state trooper, and that was pretty wild. I think he's kin to the Fife family somewhere down the line. You know, like I told him out there, I didn't know that the department in Texas that they gave a state trooper part of the highway, because he kept telling us it was his highway and that was his part. And he never did get my name right. He kept calling me son, but other than that, we were all right.
Round of applause from everyone here at Race Day to Kyle and those involved. They say it's going to be an annual event. That's all the time we've got this morning. Don't forget at 1 o'clock, Busch Grand National Racing, 5 o'clock at HRA Drag Racing. We're back at 7:30 Eastern tonight. See you then.